The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Henrik Bick. I'm with the communications team for the Music Business Association. Here to welcome you to today's Common Ground webinar session, What is High-Res Audio and Why Does It Matter in 2019? We're very excited to welcome Dan Makta, the Managing Director of Qobuz USA. Before we get started, and I turn things over to Dan, I just want to do a couple association-related housekeeping notes. As you know, the Common Ground webinar series continues through the end of the year with sessions every week in the month of October. Go to our website and under education, you'll see Common Ground webinar series for all of the upcoming sessions that we have, including one next week where representatives from DDEX will discuss the new MEAD format for music metadata and how it's poised to improve user search and discovery for new music on digital platforms. Moving to our face-to-face events, it's not too soon to start thinking about MusicBiz 2020. Earlier this week, we opened our call for presentations. Without the help of our member community and our audiences, we wouldn't be able to put on the nearly 300 educational programs that we have every year. So we're looking for your input on presentations, panel ideas, and speakers. You can visit musicbiz.org and use the link on our homepage to look at guidelines and submit starting today. But before MusicBiz in Nashville, we have Nylon Connect coming up January 16th and 17th at the Dream Hotel in New York City. You can register for that now by visiting nylonconnect.com. And stay tuned because we have some pretty exciting announcements for keynotes coming up next week. Already announced, we will have Sun Lee from YouTube Music, Cecilia Kvist from Spotify, and Scott Cohen from Warner Music Group, all delivering keynotes during Nylon. Now, I'm going to turn things over to Dan. I'm going to put myself on mute. And as we go along, if you have any questions, you can use the question box on your GoToWebinar platform, and we will answer them as we go. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, Henrik. Thank you, Henrik. And thanks to everybody at MusicBiz for giving me this opportunity. I hope everyone can hear me all right and see me all right. The presentation is going to cover both some general information about high-res audio and what it's all about, as well as a fair amount of detail about the Qobuz service and what we're doing and why we're different. But I'm going to start it off with a little video that has some great third-party authorities talking about high-res audio and their experience of listening to the music that they've worked on via Qobuz. So we'll start with this, and then I will jump in with the rest of the presentation.
Right now, we're on the verge of this revolution where we can really get high-quality music through streaming, and I'm really excited by it because it's a great way to get the music to the people.
Our mobile devices have higher resolution and better converters from digital to analog. Bandwidth isn't a problem. You can transmit high resolution, high bandwidth. Once you hear high resolution audio compared to what an MP3 sounds like, you won't go back. It's, you know, I mean, you could talk about it and describe how great it is, but the truth is emotion, depth, intent, all those things in high resolution will affect you in a way.
I would say what most kids hear in their earbuds compared to what I'm listening to is sad.
People should just hear the same thing that we hear when we're in the control room and we're mixing things and we're listening to music.
Studio quality would be a better term, I think, for it, to be honest with you, because it would indicate you're hearing something as it was laid down, as it was recorded.
If you love music, you're really going to love music when you hear it in high resolution audio, the way we intended for people to hear it in the studio.
I want to thank Qobuz for actually creating this thing. I love the idea of using FLAC as a format. I'm kind of a geeky guy and I like FLAC because it really means it's lossless. You're hearing the exact thing.
It sounds incredibly crystal clear. There's nothing to get in the way. There's no Kleenex kind of over the speakers. I really love the way that it sounds.
When we were listening to Qobuz inside, like, you could feel it. You felt like you're in the room. You felt like the violins were like like there and you're watching it and you're part of the sound as opposed to just listening to it.
Within seconds, I felt like, oh, Qobuz is definitely clearer, more honest. I feel this is closer to what the album actually sounded like.
A goal for a lot of artists, especially, to really be able to take what they walk in and they track and be able to keep that high resolution all the way through, tracking, mixing, mastering, and then have the audience be able to hear exactly that thing that they wanted, because it's extraordinarily different.
The power of high resolution and being able to release that to the music fans is, it's what we do in the studio. It's how we make the record. And if we can release it to a fan, now we get to use the better technology, and more people are interested in keeping it high res throughout the entire music production process, because we get to deliver that. It's 2018, and there's very few outlets on the market to do that.
And I think that high res is that. It's that conduit. It gets exactly what that artist that you like is thinking and wanting to create and wanting to express, and it gets it straight to you with the minimum of fuss and the minimum of distortion. And it's a more pure expression of artistic intent.
It is immersive. It is 3D. It is like taking, like, you have a picture of a box or like an actual, like, you can hold it in your hand and you can feel it.
You're delivering more, you're going to get more, and if you deliver the lowest level, you're going to get the least amount of sonic emotional response. If you're listening to an MP3 versus listening to a high resolution, it still sounds better. The high resolution does.
Given the option and showing them and teaching them how much better and how much more full the sound can be, without the compression, without the dithering down of the information. It's as if you're taking a blanket off of the sound and you're really hearing things full quality.
Everything I do, whether it's a punk band or it's a jazz band or a classical string quartet, it's always at sampling rates of 2496 or higher. That quality is really, really, really important to me.
Once you hear it, you'll never want to settle for anything less.
All right, so hopefully that wasn't too herky-jerky and everyone could understand what these guys were saying. Some great producers and engineers, mixers and studio people. These are the folks that know sound quality and the early adopters, if you will, of high-res audio. So who are these people who care about sound quality? It's certainly not the mass majority of the population, but we are out there, and I think our numbers are increasing. I just found this, kind of all-encompassing quote about who audiophiles are from our friend Steve Gutenberg at CNET, and we all know people who have, spent more money than we have on audio gear, on headphones, on speakers and home stereo systems. And these folks have been saying since the beginning that lossy digital audio, whether it was an MP3 that was downloaded or MP3 equivalent streaming, really does not give them the experience that they're looking for. The compression and the conversion into these lossy formats ends up leaving a lot out of the music. Most people don't know, most people have never heard it, and a fair number of those people may not even really care, but that's okay, because there are those of us who do care and who love music enough to understand that the sound quality itself is really important. So that's the central element of what makes lossless and high-res audio really important and really valuable. Now, just to talk in a very generalized way about these different levels of audio quality, we're using this tried and true graphic that is not scientifically accurate. We all know that, but it still gives you, in a kind of poetic sense, a picture of what we're talking about when we're talking about lossless and high-res audio. So in the first column on the left, we see MP3, and this is the canonical standard these days for most audio streaming and even most paid downloads. MP3 or otherwise compressed audio. When we're talking about the bit rate, which is the number you see there, 320 kilobits per second, that's the amount of bandwidth at its maximum that this kind of lossy audio can provide, whether that's an MP3 or the OGG format that Spotify uses, or AAC, which is Apple's proprietary compression scheme. At the very best top setting, what you are receiving is a 320 kilobit per second stream. So taking that into account as kind of a baseline, when you're using Bluetooth headphones or Bluetooth wireless connectivity, you're kind of maxing out around there. Despite improvements and claims that lossless and high res can be transmitted by Bluetooth, the reality is that it is still going to be compressed even if you put lossless into it. And that's fine. If you are on the beach or on the golf course or a little kid, or someone who is just doing a lot of other things and the music is somewhere in the background, that is probably good enough for you. And we jump ahead to CD quality. And this, if anyone was around in the 90s, you know what a CD is. And that quote unquote perfect sound quality is lossless. It is a far cry from the lossy MP3 sound. And that's a dramatic difference. If you haven't AB'd an MP3 versus a CD original, anybody can hear that. Anybody can hear that. So some of these numbers are a little bit generalized, but when you're talking about CD quality, it's lossless. It's also commonly known as 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz sampling rate. And if we want to compare it to the MP3 that we were just talking about, we can do a calculation and come up with a bit rate. It's actually 1411. I've got a typo here, but it's roughly 1411, depends on the source. So we're already talking about something that's 4 to 5 times as much information as an MP3. When we're talking about hardware, Sonos is a great example of a very flexible and reliable system that does all of your lossy MP3 music, but will handle up to a CD quality lossless stream, which, like I said, huge sonic improvement over lossy compression. Then we jump to the world that we're really excited about, and this is the next frontier. And though it's existed for a while, it's really just coming into its own in the mainstream consciousness in the last few months, or even last few weeks, if you follow the news. High res is also lossless. The high res file is a 24-bit file with a sampling rate of up to 192K. And again, if we're going to translate this into a pure bit rate, it's over 9,200 kilobits per second. Talking about 7 times the potential information of CD quality. And high res is the format in which most music today in the recording studio is done in 24-bit. So as the engineers were saying, there's really no reason why the end user shouldn't be able to hear it in that quality. And when we're talking about lossless and then into high res and all that additional bandwidth, what does it mean? It means the ability of this audio file or audio stream to contain an infinite number of tiny details that get lost in the compression schemes. You know, it's the nth level decay of a cymbal. It's the silence. It's the space around the instruments. It is really a lot of tiny little details that together create the more vivid, more lifelike or engaging music. And it's the same stuff that Neil Young has been talking about for years. When Neil Young was doing his Pono, it was a high-res 24-bit file. And like we've heard people say, the emotional content of the music, in my mind, is really contained in all those little details, and that's why it's important, and that's why there's a difference there. So the overall landscape for lossless and high-res streaming has been evolving very, very rapidly. Qobuz, who I work for, is a French company, and we were the first to do true high-res streaming, started in Europe almost 4 years ago and launched in the US earlier this year. Qobuz is the only service that has the authorization to use that official high-res audio logo from the Japan Audio Society. So you see, we offer both lossless and high-res. Amazon Music HD just came into the market 2 weeks ago. We knew it was going to arrive at some point, and they are now here popularizing the message of audio quality and 24-bit audio. So they've got the lossless catalog, they have high res, and you know, when we talk about this high res catalog, it's basically anything that labels or artists release in high res will have. So, you know, whereas the CD quality and kind of mass catalog that most services are pulling from is between, you know, 40 and 50 million tracks, depending on the day and who you ask. But high res at this point, the total is about 2.5 million tracks. There's more being released every week. Most new releases are released in high res, and there's always reissues and remastering and revisiting of original tapes happening by both major and independent labels all the time. So it's a growing catalog, but even 2.5 million tracks is a lot of high res for anybody to listen to. Tidal is a service you're probably familiar with. They've got a CD lossless tier, and I say they don't have high res here with an asterisk. They do have a library called Tidal Masters, which is something like about 1 million tracks in a proprietary format called MQA, which is too complicated for me to explain here, but basically a codec or a file format and process that allows them to transmit the 24-bit audio type data in a 16-bit wrapper or something like that. In any case, it is not the 24-bit native FLAC files that we stream, that Amazon streams, and that the Neil Young Archive streams. Neil Young is also doing his own service. If you like Neil Young's music and that's all you want to listen to, you've got a great place to hear it in the best possible quality. Primephonic and Adagio are both classical only services that focus on that niche specifically. Deezer, another French company, they have lossless, but no high res. And then I'll also mention in the MQA discussion, Napster has a powered by Napster product, white label, that they have partnered with clients to power their streaming, and they do offer MQA, although I'm not aware of any application for that that's live in the US right now. So that's all that's happening. It is not a lot of competition. I'm sure more will come into it as the audience for audio quality and high-res music grows. But for today, it's a select number of players, and we've each got our own take on things and unique personalities. By the way, if you've got any questions, type them in, and I will try to hit them along the way if they're relevant. Otherwise, we can pick up questions at the end. So Qobuz launched in the US in mid-February after several years of successful operation in 11 European markets. We've been getting great publicity, a lot of interest, and really recognition in the media of the fact that the time for high res is really here now. The content exists, the streaming services exist, the hardware, the bandwidth, it's all really within reach of any consumer that is interested in hearing something a little bit or a lot better than what they're used to. So here's a few relevant quotes. We did get a Golden Ear Award from the Absolute Sound, which is one of the preeminent audiophile magazines in the States. So we've got that seal of approval, I guess, from them. Looks like a seal of approval, along with tons of great business press and music press, and that's continuing. So just to talk for a few minutes about the Qobuz service specifically and what makes it different, the main point that I'm always driving home is we are music people. We are music first. We're not coming into this with an idea about becoming all things to all people and the ultimate audio player or anything like that. We are a music service. And our target audience are diehard music lovers and people who really care about this stuff. The audio quality is just a first level of inquiry when you're really into music and really wanting to get closer to what the artists intended, and everything else about the service and our apps and our ethos is derived from that basic point. There's a lot of original content that we do, and it's all right in the app. There's long form written articles. There are complete credits. Everything that we get from the labels is displayed in the app. All of the performers and composers and producers and engineers and mixers and mastering, if we have it, it's displayed. And in addition to that, we've got digital booklets. So these are like a PDF type representation of the actual CD booklet in genres like classical and jazz. Super valuable, the librettos and the scholarly analysis and so forth. And this is the stuff that people who are really deep into the music want. They don't want to just put on a playlist and go to sleep. They're listening to music and they're digging deep and looking for more information and more context around it. The other interesting thing about Qobuz, and I'll touch on this again toward the end of the presentation, is not only are we a streaming service, we are also a download store. Everything we stream and more is available for sale in lossless or high-res quality if we have it. And that's an important constituency when we're talking about audiophiles and this older audience that remembers what music should sound like. There are a lot of downloads being sold and high-end music servers being filled up, little counterintuitive to where the business is thought to be going. But as long as people want to buy downloads, we will sell them to them. It's a great point of difference, especially if you're using streaming as a way to sample, but then you want to own files. We do both, and we'll continue to do both. As I mentioned, we were the first service to offer this 24-bit high-res streaming, the native FLAC format, and nobody can take that away from us. We were first, so we've had some time to perfect what we're doing. We've had time to become very well established in the high-end audio community, whether that's the hardware manufacturers, hi-fi retail stores, or the hi-fi audio shows that happen in every major city. We're there. We're really part of that area of the business. We're really embedded in it, and it's super important to people who are spreading the message of audio quality, whether they're coming from the hardware side or retail side or what have you. Those are our allies, and gathered together with them and other services that spread the idea of better audio quality. They're really all our allies. We've got a lot of education to do and a lot of people to turn on to better sound quality. We're doing a lot of things with different music magazines, whether it's Jazz's here in the States or Gramophone, classical magazine in Europe, with curated playlists and co-marketing and a lot of collaborative efforts to bring the editorial power of these great established music magazines to our platform is a benefit for everybody, and giving those magazines a way to offer music to their customers or to their readers in the kind of sound quality that it really needs to be heard in. So that kind of stuff works really well for us. The other thing that's very important with this audience is customer service. And this is something that I think we're uniquely positioned to be able to provide, because of our size and because of the fact that it really is, when you're with people that love music, you feel it's like a family. And that's how we treat our customers. And we're really doubling down on that, super serving, almost a white glove concierge level of customer service for people who are setting up high-res streaming for the first time. They may be older, not as technically savvy, and we want to help them and get people using these platforms and bringing them into the 21st century with us. Just to drill into the apps a little bit, there's desktop apps. That's what I'm showing you here. Obviously, there's Qobuz apps for the phones and other devices. We've got a big focus on the album. Remember that? As long as artists are releasing music in album form and looking for their creativity to be understood as a body of work, we're going to support that. So the first thing that you see when you open up the app is new albums. We feature a lot of genres right on the homepage. You don't have to drill down past all of today's current top 40 to find the most important new jazz releases. Jazz, classical, world music, and other genres are right in the mix on the main page with current pop and other genres. We've got it all. We've got the full library. It's really more a matter of how we slice and dice it and how we decide what to surface and what our users are really into. We've got thousands of human curated playlists. There's dozens of new playlists being generated every week, and whether these are being done by artists, here we've got Steve Reich, the minimalist composer. We got the first ever playlist from Steve Reich, and that's big for us. We know that music, and that's important for our listeners. But playlists that focus on genres or new releases or Like I said, artist curated playlists curated by hi-fi brands or audio retailers, or the aforementioned magazines like Jazzes and Gramophone. It's something that I think we do better than anybody. We also have these long form interactive articles, so you can be, it's right in the app, reading about the Kinks, listening to the albums referenced while you read, clicking through, and a great way to lose an afternoon in music. And to me, there's nothing more enjoyable. Now, I mentioned all of the hi-fi hardware brands that we work with. You see from this slide, it's a huge array from really mass market brands like Yamaha or Sonos up through some of the most exclusive high-end audio brands that are out there. Not only is Qobuz integrated right into the hardware wherever possible, we also work directly with the hi-fi manufacturers to promote high-res audio and give special offers to their customers. And we also like to promote these brands to our audience. And like I said, it's kind of a family, and we're all unified spreading a message that there's something better out there. We know human nature. If people know that there's something better, some percentage of them are going to want it, even if they don't fully understand it. But the way things are going now with high-res audio, it's really coming into its own. This is just a select group. I got as many of the logos on this page as we could, but there's more being introduced every week. And it's a really exciting area of the business. There's so much great technology and so much new hardware that's available really for the first time that allows people to take music with this incredible audio quality and all of the added enjoyment of lossless and high-res audio on the go. And it just really hasn't been possible until the last couple of years. The other way that Qobuz specifically is really using our footprint in the audiophile world to grow the audience for high-res streaming is something we call the Qobuz Society. And this is a network of independent hi-fi stores as well as some bigger players. We're just adding Best Buy's Magnolia Design Centers, which is 89 stores around the country, to this program where we work directly with the stores and their staff to set them up with Qobuz to use in their hi-fi audio demos, and we train the salespeople and the staff, get everybody really up to speed on high res and why it's important, why it's exciting, and then outfit the store with a custom playlist that they can use in all of their demos, and then basically send their customers home with a link to that playlist and a card for a free Qobuz subscription to give that customer the ability to replicate the experience once they get home. So that's new, and that's a lot of fun, and it's growing rapidly. And I would say if you, as a music fan, are not really familiar with lossless or high-res audio, and you don't necessarily have a great system at home, find your local hi-fi store. Go on the Qobuz site, look for the Qobuz Society, and you'll be able to find one of our retailers that's somewhere near you. You go in, the salespeople will be more than happy to demo incredible systems for you and show you really what's available and where the innovative technology and incredible engineering have come. And you'll hear Qobuz and high-res audio the way it was meant to be heard. So I encourage you to go in, support these guys the way you would support an indie record store. Support your local hi-fi retailer. So since we launched in the US in February, we've been really pleased to see uptake all over the country. I think this map is kind of county by county, so it's a little bit granular, but you will see we've got subscribers in every state. We've been doing hi-fi audio shows in all the major cities, and this is continuing to grow, but we're going national. Another interesting point about Qobuz is the mix of genres that are most popular among our listeners. Now, remember, we're talking about primarily audiophiles, tend to be older, more affluent, and not as into like I said, the current top 40 of the day, as much as some of these more specialist genres. So you see in the U.S. Whoops, I skipped my slide. Anyway, long story short, in the U.S., pop rock is the #1 genre, and it's followed by jazz and classical in short order. So that's really a mirror image of what's happening in streaming in the mainstream sense. And what's nice is it really makes us a home for these genres and these types of artists that may be just a little bit below the fold, if you will, in the world of mainstream streaming. And that stuff for us is definitely above the fold and of huge importance and interest to people that really care about sound. I mean, nothing sounds better in high res than some classic John Coltrane recordings played through a great system. I mentioned the download store before, and this slide is kind of informative, really just showing you that since we launched in the US on a month-to-month basis, our new customers are coming, 30 to 50% each month from downloads rather than streaming subscriptions. There is a constituency and a strong audience for lossless and high-res downloads. And the thing to remember is that everybody, including the artists, make more money in a download sale transaction than they do from streaming, as we all know. But we like to say, if you're really looking to support artists and do a little bit more than just streaming, buying files really helps everybody. And like I said, we're going to continue to support that until there is nobody looking to buy a file anywhere. It's still a strong part of our business, and it's something that we are continuing to focus on and find ways to grow. So before I open it up to general questions, some of the points that I promised I would address in the webinar description were, how do I get my music onto Qobuz? And that is a question that is answered pretty much the same way as how do I get my music onto Spotify, or how do I get my music here or there. We have deals in place with all the major labels, all of the major independent distributors, most of the aggregators, many of the DIY aggregators. So if you can find the company that can get your music onto the other guys, more likely than not, they can also get your music onto Qobuz. But do your homework, because some of the aggregators and distributors do support 24-bit high res and some do not. So if they don't, we'll at least be getting CD quality lossless. But if you want high res, you may need to do a little bit of extra research to find the right companies to work with. But it's basically the same process as getting your music onto any other DSP. And how can I work with Qobuz? As I mentioned, if you are a hi-fi retailer or a manufacturer of audio hardware, we want to talk to you, and we've got these great programs already in place that we can plug you into and promote your business while also promoting the idea of audio quality and getting some folks to try our service. If you are an artist or a record company or a manager and you want to co-market your music with us, we're very accessible. There's no mystery to it. We're a real small team based in New York for the US, and we'll talk to you. We've got artist curated playlists and label focus playlists that are easy for us to collaborate on. We've got the long form editorial articles and original bios and other content that we're always happy to take pitches, if you will, from artists that have projects that are relevant to us. And then, going beyond that to off-platform co-marketing and bigger ideas. Because we're a small company, we're very nimble, and we're open. We're going to be aggressive, and we can try things that haven't been tried before. One thing that we've got coming up that I'm very excited about in a couple of weeks in Los Angeles, we are doing a special listening party at a hi-fi audio store in downtown LA called Common Wave. We're working with Craft Recordings, who have a Miles Davis box set coming out, and there's going to be vinyl playing on brand new turntables that are being premiered, and we'll be streaming Cobas and drinking wine and eating foie gras, I'd imagine, but an in-store, but really around these recordings and in an incredible stereo store. And it's something that a company like ours is uniquely positioned to be able to do. So it's those kind of ideas that we're looking for, and any other partnerships with brands or companies that are in cultural world that we're in, so to speak. I think there's lots of ways that we can work together, and because we're small, we don't have a huge marketing budget, we don't have any billboards in Times Square. Strategic marketing and partnerships are super important for us. And you'll see my contact information there. We're accessible. Email me, call me anytime, and if I'm not the right person, I'll connect you with the right person. We really pride ourselves on being able to on being nimble, taking advantage of opportunities, and being great to work with. So with that, if anyone has questions, I think I will see them in the in my screen. So there's a few minutes left. Please hit me with any questions.
Yeah, be sure to use the question box on the GoToWebinar platform if you have any questions. And if no one submits, then we will probably wrap up in about a minute or so. Just a preliminary thank you, Dan. That was an amazing presentation, and thanks for taking the time today to talk to everyone.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I wonder if my mom's on. Hi, Mom. Wow, no question. No.
So we might as well
nobody
go.
Wants. I was just going to say nobody. I was sure somebody was going to ask, so I didn't put it in the presentation. But what the arrival of Amazon HD on the market means for a company like Qobuz, and I'll just give you the 1-minute answer since nobody asked. Like I said, we knew they were coming. They're coming in with a very disruptive price point. And that's something that we definitely have to look at. However, the thing about Amazon is they've got the kind of reach into the mass market that we could never hope to have. So ultimately, it's going to be a benefit for companies like ours because we've got the marketing muscle and the built-in audience of Amazon all of a sudden getting exposed to this message of audio quality and that there's something out there better than what they were already getting. So I feel like it's only going to be a benefit in the future. More and more people are going to know that there is something better out there, and the fact that consumers will have choices, different providers offering the better quality is well, hell, that's the beauty of capitalism right there. That's the way we want our system to work. So I hope that it will actually end up being a really good thing for this segment of the business. And you know, like they say, a rising tide lifts all ships. It helps if your ship does not weigh twice as much as the other guy's ship, but I think that you'll be hearing news in the next few weeks. Oh, obvious elephant in the room. I didn't hear you mention HD Tracks. What sets us apart from HD Tracks? HD Tracks is not a streaming service. HD Tracks is a la carte paid downloads only. So we do compete with them on that front. And that's kind of like, you know, do you want to, you know, buy your music at Joe's store or Tom's store? I think that you know, they're pretty well established. They do what they do very well. Oh, now I'm getting more questions. But we are much less expensive. Oh, than HD Tracks. Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's always pricing and so forth. But yeah, the main difference is HD Tracks is not a streaming service. Is there going to be a family plan on Qobuz? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. It's coming. It's coming. Every good idea is harder to actually execute than you would think. So we've been working on it for a few months. There's engineering involved, and we are hoping to launch it before the end of the year.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'd like to once again thank Dan for the presentation today. Thank you for Qobuz for being on our Common Ground webinar series, and thank you to everyone who attended today.
We'll see you guys at Music Biz, if not before.
Excellent. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your afternoon and look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.
Thanks.